If you like what you hear in this podcast and want to help us keep the lights on, then you could support us on Ko-fi for as little as a £1 one-off donation. The links are in the episode description. Thanks for your support. This is Skip, the podcast where we tell you, in our opinion, which albums are truly unskippable and which ones belong in the skip. I'm Mike.
I'm Rob.
And this week we are listening to Undun, hope I'm saying that right, by The Roots. Yes, the same Roots that are a house band for Jimmy Fallon.
Yep, apparently so.
It's a weird one, but
it's a weird one.
I mean, these guys have had a very long career before being a house band.
Very long list of members.
Speaking of long members, no, I'm not doing that, Jack. Yeah, I don't remember who sent this one in, but I know this has been on the docket for quite a while, and we just haven't got round to it.
So this one was sent in by Taryn, and it came through to our email.
Ah, lovely.
And you told me about it. If it's the Taryn I think it is, and it's one of my old work friends, I didn't know he was into The Roots.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
If it is him, then thank you for sending it in, Taryn, and we finally got around to it.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
It's been there a while, and we have had it. So with all the albums that we have, we pick them from a spinning wheel. Mm-hmm. This one has been sat there for about 2 months, 3 months.
I want to say a long time. Yeah.
It's been there, so we pick 2 or 3 a time. This one has been number 4 and it's just been sat there because, admittedly, it was a little bit difficult to get into at first for our little white brains.
It was the victim of a number of things. It took ages to come up on the wheel. Then you were away. Then I was unavailable. Then you struggled to get into the album. Then I struggled to get into the album. Then we recorded 2 easier episodes. And now we're here. We're finally doing it. So you'll thank us, I think.
Yeah, it took a while, but we're here now, and we're finally giving this its time to shine. So Undun is the Roots concept album, a reverse chronological jazz-inflected hip-hop requiem for a fictional street kid named Redford Stephens. This was released on the 6th of December 2011 and was produced largely by Questlove and the band, widely praised as one of the most daring works.
It's a weird one. Again, the Roots had a very long and storied career. I think they were started like early 90s.
87.
87. Wow, even longer than I anticipated.
Can you guess which number album this was?
11?
12.
I was
You were so close.
I've done that twice tonight. That's really annoying. It's interesting to have a band this far into their career and then have something that appears to be quite revered. Appears to be like what people consider like one of their top 3 albums.
Oh, wow.
For a band that I've heard the name of and have not heard any of the music from until this recording.
Yeah, and I didn't know until doing the extra research for it that it was about a reverse chronological stage of life.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think the concept is that it goes over the final day of this particular character, but it does so from kind of like end to beginning, which, again, would have been nice information for the first couple of listens I was having.
Same.
But it's nice to know now.
It's nice to know now, and it gives it a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put it back to an earlier episode. Sometimes having the extra narration piece like this can improve the album. Sometimes you don't need it for albums like The Streets of Drown Don't Come for Free, where it's just a chronological album. If you listen to that one backwards, it'd be a very different story.
This is, I mean, actually, you're probably not done with the facts and figures, but I'll say it anyway. This is the first Roots album I've ever heard. This is the first set of music by the Roots that I've ever heard. It's my first time really engaging with this kind of like down-tempo East Coast hip-hop kind of thing. It's not anywhere in the realms of kind of like bombast or spectacle that, say, the Kendrick album that we reviewed has. It's a new experience for me, and I'm trying to come with it as open-minded as is possible. But we'll get into my thoughts in a little bit. Let's hear a little bit about, have you got sales figures or anything like that?
It's a very different album to what we would typically listen to. I mean,
yes.
I know that I've grown up listening to a lot more like hip-hop and sort of R&B than you did, but even this one caught me like aghast a little bit. Like, it was not what I was expecting. The first few listens, I really struggled to get into it.
Yeah.
And I remember I went on a walk one day. I literally put my noise cancelling headphones on I just made myself listen to it. And once I got through it the first time, I was like, actually, give it a chance. I remember messaging you saying, I know you're struggling. Set some time aside where you're doing sweet FA and give it its fair dues. And I'm guessing that you managed to do that, and it helped you to actually get through a few more listens. Yeah,
I haven't done as many listens for this as I would have liked. I think when I get into an album, I can kind of like go north of like 10. And if I'm really struggling with something, I might not do it beyond 3. And this is kind of like in that happy medium space. I think I've done 4 or 5, depending on whether you count all the false starts. But I've got a good sense of what my opinion of it is now.
Let's get into some ratings before we get into
it. Shall we? That'd be good.
So, Metacritic, 88 out of 100. All Music, 4.5 star. The Chicago Tribune, 4 stars. Daily Telegraph, 4 stars. Entertainment Weekly, A-. The Independent, 5 stars. Pitchfork, 7.5. Rolling Stone, 3.5. Who gives a fuck about the Rolling Stone? I will keep this rivalry going with the Rolling Stone and the enemy.
It was the enemy we hate.
They're both bastards. Any Decent Music, 7.9 out of 10. And Spin, never heard of them, 7 out of 10. Some reviews expressed reservations. They said it was skilled but stolid rapping, and it adds nothing new to the idiom of the morally ambiguous gangster tale. Tell me you're white without telling me you're white.
I'll just tell you up front that I'm very white.
I'm very white.
Let's that colour my opinion.
I like my miracle whip.
Cool whip.
Cool whip. And that's as deep as I'm going to go, other than saying the title track, when it first released, was Make My. And it debuted at number 17 on the Billboard 200 with 48,200 copies in the first week. And then by January 2012, it had sold 112,000 copies.
Which, like, it sounds a lot, but I think realistically it's actually quite little for something that's so revered.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms I've seen online from people that really dig the record is that this just was not marketed effectively at all. People did not know it was coming out. People weren't aware of it, and that didn't push it into the charts, which means it didn't get radio play, and ultimately I think it passed a lot of people by.
Yeah.
Thankfully not Taryn, so that we can have this suggestion.
Well, it shows in the charts, because usually when I look at the chart lists for these sorts of albums, like especially for the Kendrick ones, there's like hundreds of entries. For this one, there are 4 weekly chart entries or 1 year-end chart entry.
That's very
So we
low.
have Swiss Albums 30th, randomly. 17 on the Billboard 200. Number 4 in the top R&B hip-hop albums. Number 2 on the US top rap albums. And then year-end chart 50 on the US top R&B/hip-hop albums.
For 2011?
For 2012.
2012, sorry, yeah. It's not a very well-performing album, but it's beloved by those that did listen to it, is my understanding of it. Again, I think the critics can be fairly tepid on stuff like this. I still think even at the point of 2012, I think there was still a unhealthy stereotype about rap music, and it wasn't helped by the bigger rap artists at the time perpetuating those stereotypes. But less said about them the better, and focusing on kind of the more accomplished and mature act that the Roots are, I think is better for the conversation. So shall we just dive straight in for best tracks? I'm going to need to get the track list up, because I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the names of them.
Yeah, some of the tracks are harder to remember. I'll start then. So I'm going to start with Cool On. I really like that. It's like a summer sound.
Yeah, it's got that very it's very party-esque. I think there is that kind of
like driving on a summer's day with the windows down and like just banging out some absolute incredible songs on the stereo. Admittedly, I thought you were saying "Come get your Kool-Aid." It made me really thirsty. Come
You've
get
had
Kool-Aid. Stars will make you shine.
I don't know what sample they're using for that kind of like that beat at the beginning, but it's a much more upbeat track. It's probably the most upbeat track on the entire record, and it kind of works. Like, yeah, I don't love the "Come get your cool on, stars are made to shine" refrain. I don't love it, but for the purposes of having, like you say, the happier one on the album, it does it works thematically. I just don't know whether it's to my taste.
I like the backing of it though, like the little, like the build up of different tracks, like the little guitar bit, the little like whoa in the background, and like the whole build up of the song is what works for me, and I think it balances that little hook with the verses really well. That's what I like about that song anyway.
I think you're onto something there with the instrumentation, because that's what separates the Roots from a lot of acts in that space, is that they are a full band. So a lot of obviously they still use sampling, like, you know, most artists do in that space, but they're doing that with a live accompaniment as well. I'm not going to sit here and say that you can tell that this is like, what, a 5-piece, 6-piece band or whatever. I don't think there's enough texture there to kind of really pick out every individual instrument, but it's not nothing. And I think there's a little bit more inventiveness on the drum beat, obviously, because it's Questlove, you kind of expect that. And you do get some interesting little riff guitar stuff kind of across the album. Not enough to go, you need to hear this for the guitar work, but it's adding flavour that otherwise wouldn't be there, and it is appreciated.
Sorry, I was just counting the amount of members they currently have.
Oh, right, is it a lot?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11 members.
And they formerly had another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 members.
Jesus Christ.
This has been a big collective.
Oh, yeah, for certain. I think that's perhaps where I'm not exactly qualified to talk about this album. I don't feel like I've fully understood the story and history of the Roots and kind of like where Undun sits in their discog.
Same.
And I'm not the person that's going to be able to do that. So if you're here to listen to a deep dive on specifically the history of the Roots, you're not going to get it.
No.
We're really only looking at this album in isolation and whether or not it works as a solo outing. I mean, we'll get to our thoughts on the overall. I'm going to counter the thoughts on Coulomb because I just thought it was kind of like averagey enough. I think pretty much all of the tracks that come before it are all pretty good. If I had to single them out, I thought that Sleep kind of started on that very uneasy level.
Heavy.
Yeah. And but it works as kind of a way to kind of put you off kilter to begin with, to kind of realise that this record is not a typical straightforward narrative, not a typical straightforward rap album. It starts very, I wouldn't say ethereal, but macabre and unnerving, and there's something in that which I don't think you're getting anywhere else in the genre at the time. So I found that admittedly obtuse to begin with, hard to go, what is the vibe of this record? I couldn't really get a sense for it early on, which led to those kind of failed attempts to listen to it all the way through. But once I found, okay, the two states that I was able to get into this album, driving and literally doing nothing but listen to the album, both of those things worked, where it's either you are listening to it kind of like passively and absorbing a vibe, or you are paying the fuck attention to what is going on. Both of those things work. But general listening, kind of commuting, does not work.
Oh, no.
I cannot get, like, if I'm walking to the train station, I can't listen to this album. It doesn't live in that kind of
it's
half
a
in, half out
complex
space.
album. Like, you have to put the emphasis on complex.
Yeah.
It's got a lot going on, especially with the backwards narrative structure as well. Like, so much to unravel, so much to take in. It's such a big album that sometimes you just need to disassociate yourself from the world to be able to actually understand what's happening in it.
Well, this is it. Those are the two ways you can listen to the album. Is you can disassociate and kind of let it dictate the mood, or you can, as I was doing, put Spotify on the TV and read the lyrics as you're going down it, which I think helped a lot to understand what the crux of the story was. But I just don't think this is going to be something that you put on whilst you're, I don't know, like cooking or...
No, it's like,
you know, playing games. Like, I don't feel like it's a good companion piece.
Unless you're a big fan of East Coast hip-hop.
Yeah, and again, that's where I feel like not qualified enough to talk about it, but you picked this podcast and here I am. So there you go. Yeah, I like Sleep. Did you like Sleep?
I did. It's a good song. It's deep. It's got heavy hitting lyrics, and it kind of hits that sort of insomniac sort of area of people's viewpoints of sleep when they don't have it. Like, it's an essential part of life. If you don't get it, you start looking at it and resenting it
of course, the reverse narrative thing is obviously this is. I don't know how much of this is considered a spoiler. Do people spoil the plots of albums? Is that a thing?
Mike, it came out in 2011.
Yeah,
You're
good,
fine.
good point. This is the point. This is the character's death, obviously. Yeah. The character dies, has already passed on, or is in the process of dying in the course of this album. You know, there's lyrics about, I think it's probably the best lyric in the entire album. It's something like, there I go, a man goes into a memory. That's very much paraphrasing. That's not the exact lyric, but it's that idea of the sleep being the big sleep, the great beyond.
Yeah, you got it so close. It's, oh, there I go, from a man to a memory. Damn, I wonder if my fam will remember me.
It's a good couplet. I think I think that bit especially is very well written, and maybe that's a basic bitch pick, but I just thought that was very evocative, and it kind of worked as when you understand the album as this kind of reverse story of like starting with some. It's kind of similar to the Black Parade now, I say it out loud. It starts with somebody dying and then goes back to look at what he did before that, but obviously in a more direct manner here. So I think it's kind of like a meditation on uncertainness and the liminal. It works as that, as well as a record scratch. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up here dead. Like,
well, I'm going to go to the polar opposite of that now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Tip the Scale, which is one of the last tracks with actual lyrics on the album. I really enjoyed it. It's weird now looking at it going, okay, so this is like the track of him pretty much being born and realising, fuck, this world's against me.
Yeah, you get more of the traditional trappings of the genre here, where it's things are difficult and you have to make tough decisions and be ruthless, and
it's like a social diagnosis as much of a character moment.
It is. It feels like the welcome to the world of toxic masculinity. I'll be your guide of a track. You know what I mean?
This is where you're born into. This is where you're going to stay. It's very like stereotypical of the sort of like suburban cultures of America.
Yeah.
That's very much where this album was made. It's very much where the roots, pardon the pun, of this album came from. And it's a great way to represent what some of these members probably experienced growing up.
Probably. I think it's an interesting wrinkle for the Roots as a band, because they didn't really have kind of any artistic stability before becoming a house band on a talk show, which, let's be real, it's not exactly like the height of like fame and stardom that anybody would like, but you do become a household name, just probably not in the avenue that you were looking to do that. And this album was made not long after they joined the Fallon show. And I think they were kind of like working on this album in the background, kind of like between rehearsals and takes and whatnot. And the stability that gig offered them allowed them to create something like this. And there's an interesting story to tell there about how you're known for being, you know, doing little riffs and ditties to bring people in and out for the show. But you're in the background working on this kind of very mercurial story, not only about the death of somebody, but the kind of the slip and paranoia that comes with a really hostile home environment. And I don't say home as like the home. I don't mean like, you know, beaten by your father. I don't mean like abusive partner. I mean the literal area, the entire block or city that you've grown up in, and it's all you know all your life, being openly hostile. And you might say, well, that is the American black experience, and it's not something that we understand. And you'd be right. I have nothing to add. That's just, you'd be right. I don't understand it. So
we're never going to. We're privileged. We're white guys
we're British.
We're Middle England. We've both got relatively good paying jobs. We haven't had to be on that bread line. We haven't had to be on the American bread line. The American bread line, the English bread line, two very fucking different things. Food stamps are like, it's insane in America. Like if you're on food stamps, then you're pretty much like struggling to be alive.
The social safety net in America is so much further south of comfortable than the British equivalents. But yeah, like this album does touch on that a little bit, but it's a lot more monologue-y and internal than that. Like that's very much the background of what's going on. And then there is what I've perceived to be the story of a gangbanger who hates all elements of his life. So it's interesting. I don't think I particularly vibed with Tip the Scale, but I think that's because there was a lot of tracks before it that I really wasn't vibing with. So when Tip the Scale come around, it was almost like I couldn't appreciate it. Certainly by the first 2 listens, I think I was like, I'm done with it by this point.
Yeah.
I think kind of later revisits and kind of understanding of the greater concept helped a lot. But yeah, I don't have a burning passion for it either way. I just think it's very much on the album. You know what I mean?
I get that completely. And one of the notes I have, which is we're going to go to cover on now about like the lower tracks of the album, is out of there's a proportion of this album where it goes from one track, which I'm going to mention in a sec, and it's just downhill from there in terms of enjoyability.
Yeah.
And this is that was the one Solace track where I thought this is a bit different, and I enjoyed it even if it was towards the latter end of the album. I'm just going to start it. From Stomp onwards, the album just shit cans.
Oh, it fucking, like, I really wanted to get into this and give it, like, its full go. But I got to tell you, like, I messaged you to go, I'm finally getting it. And I was listening to the other side when I sent you that message, and then Stomp happened.
I'm glad that we're on the same page for this. Like, the amount of times, I wanted to say to you, keep listening, because I know that you struggled with this because I did. And it's got some incredible songs on. But you need to try and get through it all to properly appreciate it all. But I struggled from Stomp.
Yeah.
It's just a bit crap. It's just not fun. It's
it's the second verse on Stomp is, I think, the worst written thing on the record.
And it's the worst performed as well.
Yeah, I don't know who that particular vocalist is.
It's not strong.
It's not strong at all. I just want to read some of these lines out, and maybe, you know, kind of pronouncing them with the kind of the British venom that I have for it is not going to be giving it any favours. But fucking, where is it? Daddy shouldn't let me be a stain on the bed sheets. I'm an evil genius when it comes to dumb shit. And don't play chicken when I'm driving them crazy. Get hit in the wing, thigh, breast, or drumstick. Oh, it was really hard to take that seriously.
I was listening to that one in the car on the way down, and I was like oh.
It's not a good track.
Chest, fire, drumstick. Like, it sounds like a teenage girl doing a cover.
It
sounds
girl.
like Colleen What's-Her-Face with a ukulele doing a cover.
It's not good, is it?
It's not. And unfortunately, for a lot of this album following that, it's on a similar vibe. Like, I Remember. Now, I Remember is a different track. The rap vocal's fucking incredible. Who on earth is that female vocal?
Who signed off on that chorus? I remember. Do you remember? I remember.
And
it's so
it's out of tune.
Yeah.
I remember. Do you remember to remember?
It's not good. I think the problem is that within that kind of run of 3 songs, which is from Stomp down to I Remember, the songs become incredibly formulaic.
Yeah.
They all 3 of them go rap verse, chorus, feature verse, chorus. If they're long enough, tail, rap verse, end. And that's not to say, like, you know, you can levy that complaint against a lot of songs that they are formulaic and they go, you know, here's 1 stanza chorus, 2 stanza chorus. Like, we know how this works. But because the lyrics were getting increasingly kind of repetitive, and I don't mean like they're saying, oh, remember. I mean, like, it just didn't feel like the subject matter was changing dramatically enough.
No, it wasn't.
Just going, do you know it's bad? Do you know I have to kill people that I don't want to kill?
Well,
do you know it's really difficult? Do you know I'm on the breadline? Do you know that we're all selling crack? Do you know that we're all shooting people up?
The thing is, though, if you look at the themes of the songs, you've got I Remember, which is supposed to be a recollection of life before crime.
It is not that. My God.
And then Lighthouse, which is the former track, is...
I feel really bad
it's about being
people.
lost and unmoored, and then before that, it's the moment where fate and choice collide, that the path could still go either way. So you go from a track talking about life before crime to despair and suicide contemplation and the choice, the turning point.
But I don't feel like any of that is strong enough.
It's not. It's really not.
It's still quite thematically very much in gangbanger territory.
Yeah.
And I think it's not interesting enough to just say, but I'm sad about that. Like, what are you trying to tell? What did you cover in the back 3 songs that you didn't cover in the first 4?
Do you know what this album reminds me of? Plan B.
runs out of steam real quick.
Like, it gets to a certain point where it's doing all right. Then suddenly, every song is just similar and boring.
Yeah.
And it's the same formula. Now, admittedly, let's be real. After those songs, we do get into some really interesting instrumentals.
Yeah, one of them is like super turbo jazz, like to the point where it is very much just jazz noise by the end of it.
Yeah.
And like, interesting. Why were these not peppered throughout the album?
Because they're birth.
Is that what that's meant to be?
It's supposed to be about conception. And then the pathway from conception to birth.
I see.
It'd be like at party.
I just feel like that there was a
lot of arm movements for the for the people that can't see me now, which is every fucker here,
apart from me,
apart from you, and even you haven't got your glasses on.
Why do I need them? It's fine. Who are you again?
Didn't know you were bald, Rob.
I think there was something in the idea of mirroring the idea of birth and death. I think there was something in that. And I think if those instrumentals had been peppered between those songs, I think we could have had something quite interesting and quite beautiful. And this idea of like the reversing the story, this idea of like going down one path only to watch how that you were also entwined in that same path on the other way. I think that could have worked really well. What it feels like is they wanted to do a 14-track album, did 10, and got bored, and was just like, you just do the rest. You just do that. And like, yeah, they're very well accomplished instrumental pieces, and it's nice to hear the band, but it feels like an afterthought. It doesn't feel like it's there for some great narrative thread, which I think you pulled on very well by going, that's the birth. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because in my head, the story happened over a very short period of time. I didn't think there was meant to be this entire guy's life story. To me, this was like a couple of days, maybe, of just kind of explaining how it all tumbled down. But you just don't get a great sense of it. Like you say, by the time we're getting into those 3 tracks that we mentioned before, you're just covering the same stuff. To great effect at the first part of the album, you've talked about how death happens suddenly, how you have to do things you're not comfortable with to survive, how it's always been like this, how the money is not being made by people that come from where you come from, people who look like you, ergo black people from a lower economic standpoint. Yeah, very much the pawns in a bigger game. All of that is in there. And then it's like, but have we told you that it's dangerous out here? Have we told you that we might have to kill our brother? Yeah, you did.
For a lot of times.
Yeah, I'm not shocked by that at this point. And the only thing you have to kind of add a level of intrigue is we'll have 4 instrumental tracks at the end and maybe talk a little bit about being on the antidepressant meds in maybe half of one song. It was not enough to pull me out of thinking that this just ran out of ideas. And the more and more I thought about that, the more confusing all of the praise I was reading online became. And that's when my own self-doubt set in, of me thinking, well, is there something I'm missing? And I've really looked to you in this episode to do that. You've already done it with the instrumentals, but I'm wondering if there's something you saw that I didn't, because I'm really worried I'm missing something.
I don't think you missed anything with this one. Admittedly, not until I did the research I realised it was a reverse chronological album. Like, that completely slipped me by. And unless you were an avid fan, I don't think you'd have got that. And it wasn't until I saw that it was reverse chronological, it made me realise, oh, those instrumentals are the birth and all that sort of thing. Like, I don't think we're really engrossed in the East Coast hip-hop enough to really appreciate this album. As you've said before, neither of us had ever listened to this band other than them doing a few like intros for Jimmy Fallon. Like, it's not what we would personally listen to out of fun. It's just a difficult listen. As we said, I took me 5 attempts to get into this album.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit there and say, oh yeah, well, it's worth the listen. If it takes 5 attempts to get into something, to have the first full listen through, fuck me, there's something wrong. True,
although there is something to be said that you persevered. I think there are albums, we've both had individual albums, it's never been the same one, where we've gone, I know I'm going to hate this, and we just put it down.
Yeah.
Like I did that with Maroon 5, and you did that with Pink Floyd, which is a hell of a sentence to say out loud. But it's one of those things where I just feel that perhaps we peaked too early with Kendrick. Because I feel like To Pimp a Butterfly was doing everything that this album could have done. I know that they'd gone for a very solitary tale about one person in this album, and Kendrick was not that. It was the entire Black experience framed around his struggle with fame, which I adore as an album. I just think it's so good. But they feel like it found more inventive ways to have all of those conversations. Like, I don't think there's anything that hits as hard as Black of the Berry in this album in its entirety. And that was one track off To Pimp a Butterfly. And that's not even talking about all of my favourite tracks off that album. And maybe that's an unfair comparison. And maybe that's a comparison that you can only do as a extremely pale white person who's not listened to a lot of rap and hip hop in his life. But you asked me to listen to that one, and then you're asking me to kind of look at this in the same wheelhouse. And I just don't see the depth and personality that I saw in Kendrick's record here. I see some accomplished artistry. I just don't feel like I'm looking at their best work.
Completely agree. Like, I can't, in like good favour, put this to anything, and I'm going to give my verdict here. Mm-hmm. Then skip.
Yeah,
like, it's a difficult listen. It's not an enjoyable listen. It's not the sort of thing that you pick to listen to around a dinner table. It's not the sort of thing that you pick to listen to on a nice sunny day. It's the sort of thing you pick up, go, oh, that's an interesting concept. Next. And even then, when you listen to it as a concept, you're like, oh, fuck me, some of this is awful.
Yeah.
I remember. Do you remember?
And it's not even like shocking awful. I feel like the Eminem one that we listened to,
that was just, but like, one of the guys I used to work with, he's like a huge fan of Eminem, and he says that like Kim is one of those songs where it's like it's guttural and you don't want to listen to it. And even he like, that album is one of the greatest of all time, but even he agreed with us on it.
Yeah, and that's the things. Like I still think that is one of the best albums made within that genre.
Oh, 100%.
But like, that evoked so much more in me, whereas I feel like this didn't have the kind of all-encompassing kind of tear down of the Black experience that like Kendrick was doing, nor does it have the viscerality and the violence that what Eminem was doing. And you might well look at me and go, well, you're comparing apples to oranges. These are three different subgenres and they are not in any way linked remotely. And you're probably correct. I can't tell you that you're incorrect because I don't have that kind of knowledge. What I can tell you is that this sure as hell felt like it was just out of ideas, out of places to go. And it kind of feels like the album is admitting that by the way that it's structured. A great concept and a good idea and some interesting lyrics early doors, petering out very much in the middle and not even trying at the end.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shame. I completely agree with you. I would skip this one. I feel like if I wanted the kind of experience that this was going for, I would just listen to Pimp a Butterfly. I get much more out of that than I would ever get here.
100%. It's a much more enjoyable album. And admittedly, like, Kendrick does make it for a more pop-centric audience.
Possibly,
I think the Roots have been going for that long and are very much like, we're going to push boundaries. This is something different to what we want to make. We've made a lot of music. I mean, 11 albums, 11th studio album, 12th album overall. Like, you've made a lot of fucking music. It's a great concept to do. And realistically, I think the whole timing of it, because it's the second album they released the same year.
Jesus Christ,
yeah,
really?
They released another album that same year called Betty Wright, the Movie.
Okay. Cool.
It was a collaboration by a singer, Betty Wright, and The Roots, and that was released in November 2011.
Wow, I mean that's it's impressive output. I'll give them that. I just, what I did do weirdly, and I don't often do this, but I felt like I had to do this before I gave a verdict like this, was I went back and watched some people reviewing the album to kind of get what I was missing.
Hopefully not Anthony Fantano. A bold ass head.
Fantano's review of this is like a minute long and it's just him saying, go and watch this other channel. I did not go and watch that other channel, so I don't know what Fantano thinks of it. But like, I was listening to a guy did like a 45-minute mini doc about this, and I heard him talk about what he loved, but I never heard him kind of like pinpoint a specific thing. You know what I mean? It's like, and this is what sets it apart. He was just going, oh yeah, the instruments are fantastic, and the sampling's great, and the features are really good. I'm like, yeah, buddy, like, cool.
But what do you like about it?
What element of this makes it a standing? He said it's a top 3 album. I'm like, what's the special sauce? Because it isn't in the composition. Because
it isn't in the singing from that fucking female guest vocalist.
No, it isn't. I don't feel like any of the guest spots are particularly standout, only in a negative sense.
There's good songs, but there's not enough here to make it a standout album.
Definitely.
I think we've been a lot more, like, we've come at it from a completely new angle. We're not going to base this and go, oh yeah, this is the best thing since sliced bread. We're actually coming at it with a brand new set of eyes that have never been like subjected to this type of music before. So we're giving an honest, from the heart opinion.
Yeah, and I really wish there was more to say beyond that. I really wish there was like, however, this element completely flips the script. I think even knowing the story and that being like the thrust of the 3rd listen or 4th listen through I did of this, it didn't add enough. I contemplated, and I think this would be interesting. People go, it's a reverse chronological order. I mean, it's very clear the album's meant to flow one way because the tracks do feed into each other at times. It would be interesting to listen to it in reverse.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. But that would be very interesting. It'd be even worse for us because we also just have a track missing.
Yeah, for some reason.
Did we cover that? I don't know if we covered that.
No, we didn't, but it's not available on Spotify for some reason.
Yeah, the first instrumental track is unavailable in the UK. I had to go to YouTube to listen to it. I don't know what that's about. I don't know exactly why there's a specific rights thing in the UK for that, but if you like the Roots, if you want to hear this album and you live in the UK, you got to go to other places to hear the full thing. That's not a criticism against the album. That's just a weird kind of tidbit at the end. But yeah, very sorry, Taron. Unfortunately, this time we did not make the wall. This is very much an album that is going in the skip. But if anybody else out there has an unskippable album that they think can make it to the Unskippable Hall of Fame, you can send it to us at skippod@gmail.com. That's skipod@gmail.com. Or you can go onto the link tree, linktr.ee/skipdpod, where you can fill in the form and send your suggestions to us that way. We're always happy to hear them.
Yes, because we are slowly running out of albums.
We are approaching the 1-year mark, as I said last week.
And we only have 33 albums left on our list.
Which will take us over the year mark, but beyond that, we need some more stuff, guys.
We really do. So it doesn't matter if it's the best album you've ever listened to, if it's even something that you've heard in passing and have gone, this is incredible, and it isn't a compilation. It isn't the best hits. It isn't a movie compilation, Darren. It isn't the Iron Man 2 soundtrack, Darren. I've heard. You take my seat. You try to take our concept.
Oh, man. I'd be interested to do maybe a one-off where we just say what's the best of all time, but I just feel like that's going...
Best of bread?
The best of bread. Have you even listened to Bread?
Yeah.
I've never listened to Bread.
I've listened to the Best of Bread. It's a good album. It's actually a good album.
I've never listened to it.
I listened to it as a bit of a laugh at the parents-in-law. But yeah, it's a good album.
No, fair enough. That's in contention then.
It's got Wholemeal on.
And we'd have to listen to the Beatles then. It's got Wholemeal on, for fuck's sake. Okay.
Oh, sourdough.
Well, it's really soured my evening. No, that's terrible. I'm not doing that.
Well, we'll catch you later.
This is terrible. Please come back next week, and I swear to Christ, I'll gag him. Bye, everybody. Bye.